Hello, welcome back to module 2 of external analysis in corporate strategy. In the previous session, we were discussing about Micheli-Porter's 5 forces model. We have seen the structure, conduct, performance model, then the 5 forces model advocated by Porter, and we have discussed in detail about each and every factor and the force that determines the industry competition and profitability. In this session, so we will see how these industry forces and the value net affect value, cost and price. Let us understand, so the 5 industry forces, the effect on value, effect on cost and effect on price. Let us take the first one, that is the stronger rivalry. So, stronger rivalry will have maybe based on the stronger rival, what is the effect on value, that is maybe based on higher customer value, and it may increase cost associated with higher value, and it lowers the price required to compete in industry. Then stronger buyers raise the value required to compete in industry, and they also sometimes lower the price required to compete in the industry. In case if they want to have a higher value, they raise the value, and in case they want to work on the price, then they reduce the price. Then stronger suppliers lower the value provided to firms in the industry, and they raise the cost of firms in industry. Then the lower entry cost, the more powerful substitutes, what they do, they raise the value required to compete in industry, and lower the price required to compete in the industry, in case if they are focusing on the price. And if you are looking at value net, that is the cooperation between firms and buyers raises the value to buyers without comparable rise in firm's cost, and if it is they are working on cost, lowers the firm's cost without comparable drop in buyer value. Cooperation between firm and suppliers, we have in the earlier session we have discussed how the cooperation between the suppliers raises both value and in some cases also works on the effect on cost. So, raises the value to firm without a comparable rise in supplier cost, and lowers the supplier cost without comparable drop in firm value. Then cooperation between firm and competitors raises the value to industry buyers without a comparable rise in industry cost, that is called shared innovation. Then lowers the cost in industry without a comparable drop in value to industry buyers, that is also called shared innovation, and it works on the, it affects on the price, that raises the potential price necessary to compete, that is called cooperative pricing. So, we have seen how the unwritten or the strategies adopted by Microsoft and Intel as far as the hardware and the software selling is concerned. Then effective complements raises the value to industry buyers without a comparable rise in industry cost. Let us see how this 5 forces model is applied to any industry. So, one thing all of us must understand that this Micheli-Porter's 5 forces model cannot be applied to any firm or company or any organization. It has to be applied only to any industry. So, it cannot be applied to a company, it can be applied only to industry, because this model is meant only to determine the competition and the profitability that ascertains in a industry. So, let us start with the same thing, what is the threat of new entrants in Europe. So, relatively high entry barriers, the high capital cost, because airline industry requires high capital investment, and so many brands available, then shortage of takeoff and landing slots. So, this is the key advantage that is enjoyed by any airline. So, when Air India was purchased by the Tatas, so they were looking for not aged fleet, but Air India had the takeoff and landing slots. That is a very primary advantage that any airline can have it, because the takeoff and landing slots, they determine the pricing structure. In case if they have a landing slots in the night, so then the profitability, because there will be less number of travels, the travelers who wish to travel in the night than the daytime travelers. So, the takeoff and the landing slots are very key, the advantage to any company. Then the substitutes, the high speed trains. Europe has got very good amount of reliable quality train network. So, if somebody, if airlines increases the price, probably they might, the passengers, they might switch over to the high speed train. And apart that, Europe has got extensive better road network, and people may prefer to use their cars rather than taking the trains and taking the flights. Then in the recent past, the telecommunication network or the technologies, especially after this COVID-19, so the people who for even for the small reasons when they used to travel earlier, now they stopped and they always resort to the telecommunication technologies and for attending meetings, and also they do not need to physically travel from one place to another. They can take and conduct the meetings in a remote place and still get the works done. Then the bargaining power of buyers. So, the decreasing customer loyalty, naturally when the customers have got more and more options, so their loyalty also decreases and they move from airline to train network, or train network to own motorway, own cars, so on and so forth. And greater choice on some routes. So the airline industry has got one more disadvantage, that their airports will be outside the city and somebody has to travel, take a flight, early check in and again check out and again get back. So, that is in some cases it causes a lot of hassles. So, rather they prefer to take a train and reach their destination without getting into all sorts of hassles. Then complex and confusing fare structure also forces them to take a look at the other alternates. And the travel intermediaries also determine the prices, because when there is too much of competition, the travel intermediaries might suggest the better alternates even within the airlines. Then the intensity of competition, increasing price competition, because there are a high number of brands and the airlines are working. So, market liberalization has also contributed, and collaboration and code sharing from domestic flight to the overseas flight and so on and so forth. Then the failure of Swissware and Sabina has also to some extent reduced the competition. So, overall let us take a look at how this affect and if you want to summarize it, that is the barriers to entry is very high, power of suppliers is very high, power of buyers is medium or high, then threat of substitutes is medium, and intensity of competition is high. So, this 5 forces model cannot remain same forever. It is a dynamic in nature. As the industry structure varies, so does the forces, the impact of these 5 forces will also vary. So, it cannot remain static forever. So, it is a dynamic in nature, and depending upon the changes in these 5 forces, so does the so also it makes an impact on these 5 forces, whether it could become high to low or low to high, and high to medium, medium to low, so on and so forth. When Porter suggested this 5 force model in 1979, he never thought that a digital economy will transform the world and all. So, now let us see how this 5 forces model can be applied in the new economy or digital economy. So, again to start with the entrants. So, the digital model, the economy bypasses existing distribution channels. So, you do not need to have the physical channels. So, you place an order of any product of your choice, it gets delivered in a day or two. And if it is in a metro city, it happens in the same day, and in case of groceries or fruits and vegetables, less than 30 minutes or 40 minutes or so. So, the existing distribution channels, in some cases it is bypassing, and it reduces capital cost of entry. Even the small players also can start the business. That is where you see so many of lakhs of products are available on Amazon and Flipkart, and it undermines the power of established brands. So, when you are doing the business digitally, so somebody will not care the existing players who have been in the business for decades together, and in spite of their deep markets, deep pockets, and better access to the markets, but still the new entrants can always compete with them. Then industry competitors, the rivalry in the existing industry increases number of competitors. Naturally, it provides a platform to the various the new players to come in and compete with the existing as well as the new entrants, and it commoditizes products. As products eventually become commodities will become products, and increases ratio of fixed to variable costs. Then the threat of substitutes increases buyer awareness of availability of substitutes. When you want to buy something online, so when you search some product, so it also gives various the buyer's information and also the availability of substitutes, which you were virtually unaware prior to the digital economy. Then the bargaining power of suppliers, the emergence of new suppliers with significant power, that is for example suppliers of web software, then owners of key portals and all. Then the buyers, the bargaining power of buyers, it lowers the switching cost and increases buyers information, because now the information is more democratic than before. So, whoever wants any kind of information, it is freely and easily available to everybody without making any payment. So, that is, so you can also apply this 5 force model to the new economy or to the digital model businesses also. Now, so what are the things that happens when you apply 5 forces analysis? So, if somebody applies this model, they will be able to forecast industry's profitability, how the changes in the industry structure can make an impact on competition and profitability. If there is a higher intensity, so it also increases the competition and reduces the profitability. In case of if some existing players exit out of the market, it reduces the competition and increases the profitability, so on and so forth. Then strategic positioning, once we know which structural features of the industry support profitability and which depress profitability, we can choose a favorable positioning within the industry. and the strategies to improve industry profitability. Which of these structural variables that are depressing profitability can we change by individual or collective strategies? In some cases, if a government policy is affecting the entire industry, so the collective moves of the all players in the industry can approach the government and request the government to take the policy or remedial action. So that is all possible when we apply the 5 forces in a model. So it is not only the 5 force model, not only applicable to the existing the industry, and you can also apply like how it is going to look and how an industry is likely to look like over a period of time, say 5 years or 10 years down the line and all. So this analysis has been done in quite some time back, and this talks about the future of world automobile industry. The same, the competitive forces, substitutes, new entry, internal rivalry, buyer power and supplier power and all. So how these substitutes affect the relevant structural features of the industry. So alternative modes of transportation, the bicycles, public transportation, and also telecommuting to some extent reduces the dependency on the automobile. The impact on profitability, that is weak over a period of time, that is 2013 to 19, and changes, that is 19 to 28 over a period of a decade. The congestion and environmental concerns will increase substitute in a competition. Impact on profitability, so that is decreasing. Then new entry, internationalization by domestic producers, the new producers of EV because of the easy access to the technology and electric vehicles, and lesser entry and exit barriers, lesser capital cost or capital expenditure will increase the new producers of electric vehicles. The impact on profitability, that is very moderate, increased competition from both sources. Then impact on profitability, that is also increasing. Then internal rivalry, 22 companies with annual output of 1 million cars, more than 1 million cars. So although we have hundreds of companies who are manufacturing cars, but some of them are focusing on value, some of them are focusing on high end segment, some of them focusing on value and cost, and some of them focusing only on cost. So massive excess capacity, that is global capacity utilization, is almost approximately 72%. So still 28% capacity utilization is not spent due to the various reasons. Mergers and acquisition to reduce number of producers, the automobile producers. Continuing excess capacity due to exit barriers, especially government support, and falling demand due to lower personal ownership of cars, and especially in China they are facing this problem. They have built huge capacity, but that is going to be unutilized because people or car makers and even the end users are switching over from petrol and diesel vehicles to the electric vehicles. Then if you look at the buyer power, the distribution through franchised dealers, the impact on profitability is very weak, and there is no significant change as far as the buyer power is concerned, because the end product price is almost same. So now we have the parity between the petrol diesel vehicle with the electric vehicle. Earlier electric vehicles used to cost more, now it is almost same. The supplier power, that is a consolidation among component suppliers. Suppliers control key technologies, and impact on profitability, it is moderate, and changes in industry structure, it is emergence of powerful new suppliers, especially software companies and suppliers of batteries. They themselves even Google is working on the car, driverless cars, Apple is also working. So, the world automobile industry will see the competition from not only from the traditional competitors, but also from the non-traditional competitors like Google and Apple. Now, how do you draw industry boundaries? So, what is the relevant market? So, we have seen especially in the automobile market, so it is very difficult to draw the line because we are operating, the various operators are operating in different space. One is operating on the cost, value, then performance, superiority, look, then brand, whatnot. So, the motor vehicle industry, the automobile industry, the luxury car industry, is it industry global, regional or national or so? What is the criterion? The substitutability. On the demand side, our buyers are willing to substitute between types of cars and across countries. On the supply side, are manufacturers able to switch production between types of cars across countries, and it is very difficult to move production base from traditional petrol based car to the electric based car, because it is less challenging than the previous one. So, we may need to draw industry boundaries differently for different types of decision. So, with this we have finished the 5 forces model and the application on the industry, and we also discussed how this model makes impact on the profitability and competition in an industry. Thank you.